Frankenstein, Agent of S.H.A.D.E. number 14, written by Matt Kint, art by Alberto Ponticelli. This is the next part of the RotWorld tie-in, where last issue we had Frankenstein waking up in RotWorld and meeting up with Velcoro, who basically told him, hey, we got to go find some colossi around the world, kill them, and get machine parts out of them to build the soul grinder, and maybe that'll fix some stuff. So they're on their little quest here, and apparently they have some tech, just a little bit that they managed to get from some S.H.A.D.E. net outposts before S.H.A.D.E. was destroyed. So they're making their way through Lexington, Missouri, and immediately Velcoro's like, all right, so what do these colossi even look like in the first place? Any idea? And some giant bulls, like absolutely massive, start charging down the street. And I was just like, well, I'm willing to bet that that's it. And he wants to know what the plan is. Frankenstein just jumps right in, sword blazing, and is immediately just knocked down by this bull. And Velcoro's like, yeah, no, great plan. Just jump right in. Sure, whatever. And he pulls out a S.H.A.D.E. net gun, and it apparently is not a normal gun, but it's supposed to show you your greatest fear, which when he uses it on the bull immediately has a heart attack and dies. And it's just like, all right, well, that's one way of dealing with it. Sorry I hit you with that gun, Frank. What did it show you? And he's just dead silent, but we get to see that he saw Nina, like, dying very briefly. So building up that relationship a little bit, but they get their pieces of the soul grinder and just like, all right, 1 down, 2 to go. Let's see what else we got. And they just start trekking across the entire country on horseback. And Velcoro literally will not shut up. He just keeps on talking over and over and over again until finally it gets to the point where, like, as they're about to hit San Francisco, he's just like, Velcoro, shut up. So they get to San Fran, they get to the Golden Gate Bridge, and they climb up on top of it, and Frankenstein tells them the plan, that there is a mini egg, like explosive, inside the pack. Frankenstein's going to distract the Colossus, and then it is up to Velcoro to drop in the egg. So Frankenstein jumps off the Golden Gate Bridge down into the water. Inside is, again, another Colossus, this time a bit bigger and water-based. And as Frankenstein's about to plunge down on him, he just gets batted out of the way. And Velcoro's like, yeah, no, great plan. So much for that. And so he drops down the egg, and it explodes inside of the Colossus' mouth. And that's it. That's literally how they take it out. And it's just like, all right, cool, we did it. So at that point, they scour the remains of the explosive to find the piece of the soul grinder. They end up getting it. And it's just like, all right, so where's the last one? Seems a bit too easy so far. And Frankenstein reveals that the last one's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And Velcoro's like, yeah, no problem, I'll fly you there. And it turns out by fly, he doesn't mean like with his wings. He meant like in a plane. Apparently Velcoro is a pilot. So they fly out to Easter Island, where the final one is, and they jump down onto the island, and as they land, immediately the ground starts crumbling beneath them, and comes out this giant, best I can describe as worm creature, and Frankenstein's, again, so not able to take this thing down on his own, but he's actually knocked out from the ground crumbling. He like fell into his chasm, so Velcoro's left on his own, and he pulls out a whole bunch of guns from the bag of S.H.A.D.E. tech they have. He fires it. None of it's working. Eventually the worm catches up with him, and he's like, Frank, I'm sorry, Velcoro is dead. He is literally crushed in half in front of us. And so at that point, Nina pops up on his like S.H.A.D.E. tech stuff. He's able to see her through the S.H.A.D.E. implant. And it's just like, oh, Nina, where am I? What happened? It's like, oh, Velcoro's dead, and the rest of the world is going to win if you don't move. You got to get up. We need you to survive. And so he crawls up out of the chasm, and it's like, don't worry, Frank, you're not alone. And he's like, not alone? What do you mean? And as he looks behind him, there is a giant army of golden robotic women, who I can only assume are like Themyscirians who got like misplaced during the RotWorld stuff and became robots in order to survive. I genuinely don't know. They just are golden robot women, and it's like, yep, just whatever. So A pretty brief read. It read very quickly, mainly because Velcoro's talking is like sometimes all a panel is, and it's very easy to just get through all that. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm still not entirely sure as because they just said, yeah, we need the soul grinder in order to undo this, but it never really made it clear as to like how that would undo this. It's kind of vague in that way. I like it. I think it's a solid tie-in. It's a completely separate plot, obviously, because it happens before the 1 year time skip that the rest of RotWorld has. I don't know. I don't see this ending as anything except like he doesn't manage to do it because the end of this book is, I believe, issue 16. That is the end of this arc as well. So not very much left to it. I'm just curious to see where we go. I'm gonna say this one is a. I'll give it a 7. I think that Velcoro, he's been barring the Wolfman. He's the one that's gotten like the least amount of interest from me in terms of all the monster men. Um, he had he got good characterization in this issue, and him going out like he did, genuinely a bit sad. But it was a solid death as well. He's like, geez, I just couldn't manage it. Oh well, crunch. So yeah, I like it. I'm giving it a 7. Looking forward to how RotWorld continues over the next 2 issues.